If you walked into a guitar store today and asked the salesperson to show you every acoustic guitar on the wall, you would be looking at instruments ranging from $150 to $40,000 sitting on the same hooks, same body shape, same 6 strings, same general silhouette. But the difference between the cheapest one and the most expensive one is the difference between a kazoo and a Stradivarius. Most players have no idea where their guitar fits in that ladder. They know what they paid for it, and they know whether they like the way it sounds. But the actual construction tier their instrument occupies, and what separates that tier from the next one, up or down, is information the industry does a poor job of explaining. Today we are going through the 7 levels of acoustic guitars, from the Campfire beater that survives a beach trip to the hand-built Heirloom that gets passed down across 3 generations. By the end, you will know exactly which tier your guitar lives in, what changes at each step up, and where the diminishing returns curve actually starts. Let us start at the bottom of the ladder. Level 1, the Campfire beater, under $200. This is the entry point. A Yamaha FG800 at around $200, a Fender CD60S at $180, a Squier SA150, an Epiphone DR100. These are the guitars that show up in beginner bundles, that survive being left in the trunk of a car, that get handed to a friend at a campfire who only knows 3 chords. What makes a level 1 acoustic a level 1? Acoustic is the construction. The top, the back, and the sides are all laminate, which means thin layers of wood pressed together with adhesive. The wood species on the surface might be spruce or mahogany, but it is just a veneer over cheaper internal layers. The bracing is glued to a structurally inert top, the nut and saddle are plastic, and the tuning machines are unsealed open gear units that will eventually loosen. A Campfire beater plays in tune well enough to learn on. It survives drops, humidity changes, and temperature swings that would damage a solid wood guitar. And at this price, that durability is the actual feature. Nobody expects this guitar to age gracefully or develop tonal character. It is a tool that does a job. And once you outgrow it, you will not be sad to leave it behind. Level 2. The entry-level solid top, $200 to $500. This is where guitars start to become musical instruments in the meaningful sense. A Taylor Academy 12E at $500, a Martin Rhodes Series 11E at $450, a Yamaha FG 820 at $300, a Seagull S6 Original at $550. The defining change at level 2 is the introduction of a solid wood top. The top is the most acoustically active part of an acoustic guitar. It is the surface that vibrates when the strings move, and the species, thickness, and bracing of that top determine almost all of the tonal character of the instrument. A solid Sitka spruce top, even on an otherwise budget guitar, allows the instrument to actually produce the harmonic complexity that makes an acoustic guitar sound like an acoustic guitar. The back and sides at this level are still laminate. The bracing is computer cut and glued by machine. The nut might still be plastic, although some level 2 guitars now ship with bone or tusk synthetic. But the solid top is the difference that matters, and it is the reason a $500 Taylor Academy sounds dramatically better than a $200 Yamaha FG 800. Level 3. The all-solid wood mid-range, $500 to $1,200. At level 3, the back and sides also become solid wood, and the construction tier shifts entirely. A Taylor 200 chassis at $1,200, a Martin DRS2 at $1,100, a Guild D150 at $800, a Recording King Dirty 30s at $700 for the all-solid versions. What you get with all-solid wood construction is an instrument that vibrates as a unified system. The top, the back, and the sides all contribute to the tonal output. The back and sides reflect and color the sound that the top is producing, adding warmth, depth, and complexity that no laminate construction can match. The fretwork at this tier is hand-finished. The nut is bone or tusk. The tuning machines are sealed and reliable. Level 3 is where guitars start to age. A solid wood instrument played regularly will develop tonal character over years and decades. As the resin in the wood cures and the bracing settles into the body, a laminate guitar does not change tonally over time. A solid wood guitar gets better. That single fact is the dividing line between Level 2 and Level 3. Level 4, the all-solid premium production, $1,200 to $3,000. At Level 4, the materials get noticeably better, and the construction precision steps up. A Taylor 844C at $3,500. A Martin D28 Standard at $3,200. A Gibson J45 Standard at $2,800. A Larrivee D09 at $2,500. The defining changes at this tier are the tone woods and the finish. The back and sides move from mahogany or sapele up to East Indian rosewood, which has a characteristically deeper and more complex tonal palette. The top wood is upgraded to higher grades of Sitka or Adirondack spruce with tighter grain and stronger structural properties. The finish is often nitrocellulose or thin polyurethane, which allows the top to vibrate more freely than the thicker finishes used at lower tiers. The hardware at Level 4 is uniformly excellent. Bone nut and saddle. Premium tuning machines from Gotoh, Grover, or Waverly. The bracing is hand-scalloped or carefully voiced rather than machine-cut, and the quality control rejection rate at the factory increases significantly, meaning the guitars that ship at this level have passed through more inspection points than the ones below them. A Level 4 guitar is what most working musicians own. It is the tier where the price becomes serious, but the value is still defensible, and it is the tier where the instrument itself stops being a limiting factor in your playing. Level 5, the boutique production, $3,000 to $7,000. At Level 5, the construction process changes from production line manufacturing to small batch hand building. A Collings D2H at $7,000, a Bourgeois Country Boy at $5,000, a Goodall Concert Jumbo at $6,000, a Huss and Dalton TDR Custom at $5,500. What you are paying for at Level 5 is the time and attention of an experienced luthier. Each top is hand-voiced, which means the luthier taps and flexes the spruce until the resonance matches a target tone before the bracing is glued in. The bracing patterns are scalloped and shaped by hand. The fretwork is done with files and stones rather than CNC fret leveling. The binding is inlaid by hand with extreme precision, and the finish is a thin nitrocellulose lacquer applied in multiple light coats and allowed to cure slowly. If you are finding this helpful, hit subscribe. We cover guitar gear every week so you can play better and spend smarter. Level 5 guitars are produced at a rate of perhaps a few hundred per year per luthier or small shop, compared to the thousands per month that the Level 4 production factories build. The result is that every instrument gets individual attention, and the consistency between any two guitars from the same builder is exceptional. These instruments sound better than Level 4 guitars, not because the materials are dramatically more expensive, but because the time invested in each instrument is dramatically greater. Level 6, the small shop hand-built, $7,000 to $15,000. At Level 6, you are commissioning instruments from luthiers who personally build every guitar that leaves the shop, often working alone or with one or two assistants. A Santa Cruz OM Grand at $12,000, a Froggy Bottom H12 at $14,000, a Greenfield G2 at $15,000, a Coastal MD at $13,000. The materials at level 6 are master grade rather than premium grade. The Sitka spruce top is hand-selected from the top 1 or 2% of available billets. The rosewood back and sides come from old-growth stalks with tight, perfectly quarter-sawn grain. The neck wood is select Honduran mahogany or African kaya, rather than the more common South American mahogany. Every piece of wood that goes into the instrument has been chosen specifically for its tonal properties, weight, and stability. The construction at this level is historically informed. Many level 6 builders use hide glue rather than synthetic adhesives, which produces tighter joints and allows the instrument to be more easily repaired across decades of ownership. The bracing patterns are often based on pre-war Martin or vintage Gibson designs rather than modern factory templates. The finish is hand-applied French polish or thin nitrocellulose, neither of which can be applied at production scale. A level 6 guitar is built to be the instrument the player owns for the rest of their playing life. The tonal character that develops over decades of ownership is one of the actual purchases you are making at this tier. Level 7. The Heirloom Commission. $15,000 and beyond. At level 7, you are no longer buying a guitar. You are commissioning one. The cost reflects custom specifications, rare tone woods, and the time of a master luthier who probably builds fewer than 30 instruments per year. A Somogy Modern at $30,000, a Greven Ohm at $20,000, an Olson SJ Cutaway at $25,000, a Linda Manzer Custom at $40,000. These are instruments built to the player's exact specifications, often with rare or historically significant tone woods that are no longer commercially available. Brazilian rosewood, which has been protected under CIT's regulations since the 1960s, is one of the defining materials at level 7. Old-growth German spruce, hand-cut from trees harvested before 1970, is another. The neck might be Honduran cedar from a specific tree, the bracing might be Adirondack spruce from a specific Vermont logging operation, and the bridge plate might be Madagascar rosewood from a private stock that the luthier has been holding for 2 decades. A level 7 guitar is built to outlast the original owner by 100 years or more. It is the instrument that gets passed down through a family, that ends up in museum collections, and that future generations will reference as an example of the highest level of acoustic guitar craftsmanship of its era. The price reflects not just the cost of building the instrument, but the cultural significance of owning a piece of work by a master luthier whose total lifetime output might be 800 guitars. So those are the 7 levels: Campfire beater, entry-level solid top, all-solid mid-range, premium production, boutique production, small shop hand-built, and heirloom commission. Here is the honest truth about diminishing returns. The biggest single jump in tonal quality on this entire ladder is the move from level 1 to level 3, from a laminate construction to all solid wood. That single transition transforms the instrument more than any of the upgrades that follow. The move from level 3 to level 4 is meaningful but more incremental. The move from level 4 to level 5 is mostly about time invested in voicing and finish work. And the moves from level 5 to 6 to 7 are increasingly about rare materials, custom specifications, and the prestige of owning a specific luthier's work. For most players, level 3 or level 4 is where the practical ceiling sits. You are getting an instrument that will not limit your playing, that will age gracefully, and that holds value across decades. Anything beyond that is genuinely better, but the differences become harder to hear in the recordings you actually make and the venues you actually play. Where does your guitar sit? Drop a comment with your acoustic and what level you think it lands on, and tell me what level you are working toward in the next 5 years.